Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Now that we've finally finished the Druid and the Paladin, and believe it or not, we've also finished the Barbarian, the Amazon, and the Necromancer, there's really only two classes left, and that's the Sorceress and the Assassin. Now the Sorceress is the closest to being completed, so I decided to start with this one first. And we've actually already done all of the cold spells, including quite a few of the lightning spells. The only thing we haven't really done is the fire tree. We kind of ignored the fire tree entirely, so we're going to be doing a lot of that soon. But we're going to finish up the few lightning spells that are on the list that we haven't done. What haven't we done? Well, we haven't done Nova, we haven't done Thunderstorm, and we haven't done Lightning Mastery. Those are the three in the lightning tree that we have not covered. And what we're going to do today is we're going to cover Lightning Mastery, since it covers pretty much the entire tree. This is a pretty easy one, but it's also one that sometimes people don't quite understand as well as they probably should. And it usually involves things like facets, but we'll go over that. So basically, how does the Lightning Mastery skill work, and why is it so powerful within the tree? Well, without Lightning Mastery, most of these skills are actually pretty garbage. If I were to reset my character here real quick, and just throw in some points so that she can actually wear her equipment, what you'll notice is that if I beef up a skill, like for instance Lightning, which is one of the more powerful skills in the Lightning tree, I can throw in all the synergies for Lightning, so max out Charged Vault, max out Nova, and max out Chain Lightning, and of course max out the skill itself. But you'll notice that I'm only doing about 1 to 3,410, which isn't really like the highest amount of damage. It's an average damage of about 1,500 per shot, which is really not going to be enough in Hell difficulty for killing most monsters. I mean, it'll kill something eventually if you use it enough times. But it's not going to dish out the kind of damage that people are used to with Lightning, even with full synergies. The reason for this is that all Lightning skills, and all Fire skills even, with Fire Mastery, rely on the enhanced damage that comes from the Lightning and Fire Mastery skills. Now, the Cold tree doesn't rely on this, because the Cold Mastery works completely differently. It actually reduces the monster's resistance instead of increasing the damage. So the damage of the Cold skills is pretty set in stone. Whereas the Lightning Mastery is kind of like, if you don't have it, you're going to do really bad with this particular character. Now, what does Lightning Mastery do? Well, it just enhances lightning damage. But not just spell lightning damage, it enhances all lightning damage of every type that the Sorceress uses. It's also important to note that the Lightning Mastery and the Fire Mastery skills only affect you. A lot of people get confused with this, especially with Fire Mastery, because they'll look at their massive enchant damage and they're like, yes, I can put 8,000 enchant damage on you. No, you can't. Because when you cast enchant on another person, they don't have Fire Mastery. And since they don't have Fire Mastery, they don't get the bonus. So it's important to note that Lightning Mastery only affects you, and it doesn't affect anyone else, not even in buff form. It's still a very nice skill, though. And what this means is that whether you cast a spell, whether you hit somebody with a melee attack, whether you have a charm in your inventory, which gives you plus to lightning damage, or you have an item on that gives you plus to lightning damage, like Stone of Jordan, Lightning Mastery will affect lightning damage in all forms on this particular character. So anything that you do, doesn't matter what it is, even if it's just like a proc effect that comes from an item, like if you're using Crescent Moon or something and it shoots out a chain lightning. Any effect that the Lightning Sorceress has, or the Sorceress in general has, will be affected by Masteries. And this includes, of course, Cold Mastery as well. Now, as a Lightning Sorceress, you're obviously going to be building up your Lightning Mastery ability. And as you can see, I just dumped 20 points into it, and my little 3,000 damage Lightning just turned into 17,393, which is a pretty huge bump in damage, because it's 410% increase to that Lightning damage. Also, even something like my Stone of Jordan ring has been enhanced. As you can clearly see here, I have 1 to 12 lightning damage on this, and I currently have 47 to 115. The 1 to 12 lightning damage has now become, what is it, like 60 lightning damage, which is pretty crazy, right? This is the basis for a large number of builds within the game. Dream sorceresses that utilize the Dream Helmet and the Dream Shield are utilizing Lightning Mastery's amazing ability to enhance lightning damage. Zeal sorceresses and all sorts of other things that might involve melee attacking characters are going to be utilizing this to enhance their damage, their on-hit damage as well. Chain Lightning, Lightning, and Nova. Static Field does not get affected by Lightning Mastery because it doesn't actually dish out damage so much as it causes percentage-based reduction. Charged Bolt, of course, even Thunderstorm is going to give you a pretty nice buff with Lightning Mastery. And Mr. Nimoy wants to go in my shirt, apparently. The important thing to remember about Lightning Mastery, though, is that it's exactly the same as Lightning Skill Damage. So if you've ever used any item within the game that has skill damage on it, like, for instance, I'm trying to think of one off right off the top of my head if I got one laying around. I've got tons of various characters all over the place. Let's check my GGM Hydra. And, of course, we don't have any skill damage on him either. But basically, anything like Ashudas, which gives lightning skill damage, Fire Facets, which give lightning skill damage. You can also talk about Fire Facets. Any plus skill damage from basically any type of item is going to be counted into this because it counts as mastery as well. Now, what does this mean in terms of damage for the sorceress? Well, it means that fire facets and fire facets and lightning facets just don't really do very much. Fire skill damage and lightning skill damage actually doesn't do very much on the sorceress. And the reason is because, well, let's say, for instance, you are utilizing a cold spell. You've beefed up your cold spell to its maximum, right? So you've got, I don't know. Let's go ahead and just beef up Frozen Orb real quick, because it's super easy. Or we can, you know what, let's do Blizzard. Blizzard sounds good. So let's go down to Blizzard. We're going to beef up Blizzard. We're going to max that out. We're going to max out Glacial Spike. We're going to max out Ice Blast. And we're going to max out Ice Bolt. Alright. Blizzard has a damage output of 4,452. Alright, so if I have a cold facet, or if I have plus skill damage, Blizzard is going to get a huge bump in damage from this. And the reason why it works this way is because if you take the base damage of the skill, which is 4,452, and you add in the 20% from, say, like a Death's Fathom, you get a very nice 890 damage bump to your ability, which goes from 4,452 to 5,342, which is really nice increase. The problem is that Lightning and Fire Mastery are basically the same exact thing as skill damage, and they don't stack. So let's use another example, and this time we're going to use a Lightning example. So if I beef up Lightning to its absolute maximum here, which requires me to put 20 points into Nova, 20 points into Charge Bolt, 20 points into Lightning, and 20 points into Chain Lightning. Alright? This gives me a base damage of 1 to 2,992. Right? So we find the average damage for this because the damage is so ridiculously, variable. So we're going to add the numbers together. We're going to go 1 plus 2,992, and this gives us a total of 2,993 divided by 2, which is going to give us our our average, which is 1,496. All right, this is our base damage before Lightning Mastery affects it. Because of the way that Lightning skill damage works, it does not affect the total damage; it affects the base damage, which is completely different than the way that Cold Mastery works, because this damage is not the number that you're going to see at the end of the game. In fact, once we put our points into Lightning Mastery, you'll notice that our lightning skill damage goes up to 14,544. However, we're not getting 20% increase to 14,544, we're getting a 20% increase to the 2,993 number, which is an average of 1,496. So we take our 20% skill damage and we add it here, which is going to give us 300 additional damage, which is going to bring us up to an average damage of 1,795.8. However, we take this number, this 299.3, and we add it to this number. So our damage right now is 4 to 14,000. So 4 plus 14,000. 554, right, equals, divided by 2, which is an average damage of 7,274. So the 20% skill damage is going to give us 299 additional damage, so plus 299. Which means we go from 7,274 to 7,573. Not much of a bump, especially when you consider what it would be otherwise, which is if it added to the 14,554, it would be a huge amount of damage. And, if we were to just run that real quick, so let's say 14,554 plus 20% is going to be 2,908 increased damage, right? But that's not how it works. It's really just a mediocre 300, which makes lightning and fire skill damage on the lightning and fire sorceresses actually really bad. In fact, it's so bad that Ashuda's ends up being a subpar item in just about every category that it can possibly go into, because Ashuda's, it has lightning and fire skill damage on it. Crescent Moon will beat it out for damage on the lightning sorceress. You can get better survivability by using something like an Oculus with a lightning facet in it. There are tons of different options out there in the frickin' world that are better than Ashuda's, and it comes down to this interaction with the way that lightning and fire mastery work. Another way to think of the way that lightning and fire mastery interact with skill damage is just simply to add the numbers. So you notice here that it says, of course I'm standing in the way. Let me move myself out of the way real quick before I forget to do this for future videos. Beep. And we're going to flip ourselves around. Beep, beep. There we go. So notice that lightning mastery right now says plus 386%. All right? Whenever you have lightning skill damage, just add that number to the lightning mastery. That's all you do. It's not a bonus. It doesn't give you anything extra. You take your 386% and you add whatever lightning skill damage you have. So if you have plus 25% lightning skill damage, maybe you're using an Ashuda's and you have a facet in it, so you've got a perfect lightning facet in your Ashuda's and you're running 25% lightning skill damage, then you just take your 386 right here and you just add 25. And that gives you your total damage increase, which is not going to be anywhere near as much as you think it is. In this way, lightning mastery and fire mastery have very odd interactions with things that beef it up. In fact, you're more often than not, you're better with negative resistance. Negative resistance is going to get you a much more stark increase in damage than plus skill damage on fire and lightning sorceresses. However, on the cold sorceress, this is important to note, plus skill damage is actually extremely powerful on the cold sorceress. So if you have things like Death's Fathom, cold facets with plus 5 skill damage, and any other kind of skill damage that you can get, because there is no lightning mastery the same way that there is a cold mastery, since cold mastery does negative resistance instead, cold skill damage actually is amazing on the cold sorceress. So don't overlook it at all, because it does massive increases by comparison to lightning and fire skill damage. There's really not much more to talk about with lightning mastery. It's one of those skills that you definitely want to max out. If you are building any lightning damage ability, if you're going to build chain lightning, if you're going to build lightning, if you're going to build charged bolt, if you're building Nova, even if you're building thunderstorm, or you're making a dream sorceress, or you just found like 7,000 lightning's little small charms and you want to run like the most crazy melee lightning sorceress that ever existed. If you want to enhance your lightning damage on this character Lightning Mastery is one of the strongest ways to do so. It will enhance all forms of lightning damage that the Sorceress has, and it will make them hit like a freaking Mack truck. As you can clearly see from the stark contrast between lightning before Lightning Mastery, only hitting for like, what was it, like 1,500 average, to hitting for nearly 8,000 average with a 14,544 like cap out. Lightning Mastery is ridiculous. It's also the highest percentage of the lot, so if you actually take a look at the skills, Lightning Mastery actually does more than Fire Mastery. So Fire Mastery capped out at level 37 is 282%, whereas Lightning Mastery here with only level 29, which is much lower than Fire Mastery, is still at 386%, which is already above Fire Mastery. So in terms of the increase in damage, Lightning Mastery definitely does give a larger increase than Fire Mastery does. But it is important to note that Lightning skills tend to have a much more terrible average damage, which means that while, yes, you can potentially hit for, say, 14,554, you can also potentially hit for 4. And this makes up for it a little bit because a lot of the times when you're utilizing your lightning skills, things just really don't go the way that you would like them to. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when I'm fighting with Mr. Nimoy. And as always, keep watching.